Uh, I've got a lot of people behind this presentation. Here's a few of them. I'm the presenter. Niraj Kashadia is with Rockwell. He is helping with this as well. David Nute with the Reynolds Company in Houston is also going to present today. And Jesse Harvey is a panelist today. Rock Live is an event. It's another online event that's coming up. This is a derivative of the RS Tech Ed event that was typically held in Orlando, but Rock Live is virtual. I invite everyone to go online to the Rock Live website and register for that event. The keynote speakers are very interesting. They're benchmark speakers. They're not particularly speakers that are in manufacturing, but it is speakers that give you insight into your daily lives and routines. So I would invite everyone to register for Rock Live and take note of the keynote speakers. Today we're talking about RSView32. There is a notice of continuation that is out for 2027 on this, 2022, excuse me, on this product. But the current lifecycle status on this product is active mature. So it is still being sold, but newer products are available. So you can still purchase RSView32 products. You might take note of the operating system that is being used. It is supported on Win732. That is the latest operating system that will support RSView32. It is not supported on Windows 10 operating systems. So you can still buy it. It is still supported. Now is the time to plan migration from RSView32. This is a great time to begin your planning. So the RSView32 relates to FactoryTalk View in several different ways. There was the RSView32 Works product, and it relates, Works was the development environment for RSView32, and that analogous product with FactoryTalk View would be FactoryTalk View Studio Enterprise. Then RSView32 runtime could be directly migrated. The analogous product would be the FactoryTalk View SE station. But you may want to use a distributed environment. And in RSView32, that distributed environment was called RSView Active Display Server. And in that situation, we would be looking at migrating to FactoryTalk View SE server client architecture. There are commercial incentives for migrating from RSView32 to FactoryTalk View. Discounts on FactoryTalk View SE products up to 50%. There's three basic steps to migrate an RSView32 application. The first one is prepare. And this, preparation, understanding what it is you're going to do is a key thing. The actual migration and complete and verify, those are steps that that are kind of mechanical and we get through them, right? But the preparation is a key step. So I would encourage everyone to take inventory of what you have in your manufacturing facilities and also look at how that RSView32 is deployed. Do you have the proper Ethernet networks installed in your facility? Where are you going to put the new FactoryTalk View SE HMI software? those sorts of steps. So preparation is everything. It'll save you a lot of trouble. There's also a lot of tools and utilities for migrating RSView32 application. A lot of those tools have been implemented and integrated into the latest revision of FactoryTalk View Studio Enterprise, the development software for FactoryTalk View SE. But there are tools available. There's the alarm migration tools that'll take the HMI tag alarms out of RSView32 and convert those to FactoryTalk alarm and events. There's also the tag import export wizard. It will take the HMI tags out of RSView and import them into FactoryTalk View Studio. Legacy tag database utility. This is one of those utilities that was integrated into FactoryTalk View Studio. And then there's the HMI tag to direct reference converter wizard. Now this is a key utility that in RSView32 we would create HMI tags. And in most HMI software that was developed during that time period, and HMI software, particularly third-party HMI software, they use HMI tags. And one of the features of FactoryTalk View SE is our ability to use direct tag referencing. So there is an HMI tag to direct reference converter wizard utility that is available to convert those tags. Another publication to reference, I would ask you to Google this or pull it off of the Rodwell Automation documentation website. RSView32 to FactoryTalk View SE migration guide. And so this guide goes through the various steps of migrating and the objects that will not be migrated and how to overcome, how to get through migrating those objects. So, and then there's considerations for migrating RSView32 applications. One is, should you upgrade directly? In other words, we can take an RSView32 project and we can import it directly into FactoryTalk View Studio. But what we're going to get out of that is an RSView32 project running in FactoryTalk View Studio. And lots of things have changed since RSView32 was introduced. RSView32 was introduced for the PLC5 and SLC architectures. And it was introduced in the mid-90s when we thought of graphic displays as being highly colorful objects, much like color computer monitors. But today, a lot of things have changed with FactoryTalk View SE. The hardware, the ControlLogix hardware has changed. We're now in the new, what we call the next generation of ControlLogix, Logix 5000 hardware that has a lot of features in it. It has a lot of memory in it. And in addition to that, the idea of HMI software has changed as well. Notice that all the colors that exist in the RSView32 screens, that RSView32, those screens were state of the art, you know, back then. But today there is a strategy that is called high performance HMI. And notice the gray screen in the high performance HMI. So the gray screen is there so that operators can recognize the reds and the greens and the yellows that say if something is running good or is something outside of acceptable limits. So we need a gray background, kind of a dull background, and then the color highlights items that the operator should be observing to run the process. So things have changed. Should we upgrade or innovate? Personally, I would say that innovate, moving to some of the newer FactoryTalk View SE objects would be a good idea in your conversion process. One of those is the standardized faceplate. So Rockwell builds standardized faceplates that conform to the high performance HMI standards. And the good thing about these faceplates are that they're all the same. They're all built the same. If you have different people in your facility building different faceplates, then all the faceplates are going to be different. And these faceplates are highly comprehensive and they're uniform and they're supported by Rockwell technical support. So if you have a problem with a faceplate, you can call up Rockwell technical support and they'll walk you through the issues that you're having. Another consideration is how VBA execution is handled in RSView32 versus FactoryTalk View SE. VBA was handled in the HMI server within RSView32. And in FactoryTalk View SE, VBA is handled by the HMI client. So that would be another consideration during the migration. Direct tag referencing, we spoke about earlier. RSView32 had HMI tag database. So we built HMI tags in RSView32, and those tags resided in a database. Today, with FactoryTalk View SE and FactoryTalk View ME, the development software is highly integrated into the Studio 5000 or RS Logix 5000 programming software. And we don't really build the HMI tag database. We can if we want, but typically what we do is we'll build an object and then we will just browse to the tag in the controller that we want to reference, and we will choose that tag. And so there will be no HMI tag database in a FactoryTalk View SE application typically. So that would be another difference between the two softwares. FactoryTalk alarms and events is handled in FactoryTalk View SE. So FactoryTalk View SE uses a service in FactoryTalk Services platform that is called FactoryTalk Alarm and Events. That would be different from RSView32. In RSView32, the alarms were issued from the RSView32 application. So these FactoryTalk alarms and events, they could be device-based alarms. So they could be alarms that are issued directly from the controller. So in this case, there would not be alarms in FactoryTalk View SE. The alarms would be built in the controller. They could be instruction-based alarms, or they could be tag-based alarms in the Logix controller. But we can also handle tag-based alarms in FactoryTalk View SE, which would be necessary if you're implementing FactoryTalk View SE on a PLC5 controller or an SLC controller. So That's another difference. Alarming is a difference between the two products. ActiveX is another consideration. If you're running ActiveX in RSView32, we would need to look and see if those ActiveX are supported in FactoryTalk View SE. In some cases, they would not be. In other cases, we would need to register the ActiveX component with the operating system that the new FactoryTalk View SE is running. Alarming, as we mentioned, is a key consideration. The differences between RSView32 alarms and FactoryTalk View SE using FactoryTalk alarm and events. Users and security is a big consideration. In RSView32, security is handled by the RSView32 application. In FactoryTalk View SE, users and security is handled by the FactoryTalk administration console. Users and security in FactoryTalk View SE are assigned globally, much like an Active Directory, but there is a security service in FactoryTalk service platforms where users and security are configured globally. And that is not true for RSView32. That would be a different. Communications, pretty much everything is Ethernet. Today, we could, if you have a PLC5 running on DH+, we can still bridge to that DH+ application, but we would need to consider that during the conversion. VBA scripting, as we spoke about, VBA scripting is handled by RSView32 in the application in the HMI server, and in FactoryTalk View SE, VBA scripting is handled on the client side of the server client architecture. And then direct tag referencing, as we mentioned, would be another key consideration. How do you want to keep your HMI tags as they are, or would you like to move over to direct tag referencing? So those are some of the considerations. So do you want to innovate, or do you just want to convert your RSView32 over? We can take an RSView32 application and pretty much just convert it straight over to FactoryTalk View SE. It's a fairly simple process, and but you might want to take the opportunity to consider the new needs that are in your manufacturing environment and accommodate those needs. One of those new needs may be mobile applications. Everything is mobile now. We can get alarms on our phone. We can look at HMI screens on mobile pads and even on your telephone. So there are several ways to go mobile with FactoryTalk View SE. One is by using a standard client. So in that case, we would take a pad that uses a Windows operating system and install a standard client on it. We could deploy thin clients throughout your facility. So right now you have individual RSView32 applications running in your facility, and we could convert all of that over to thin clients. The advantage to thin clients is you do not have operating systems running on the factory floor. So there's no Windows updates going on your factory floor with thin clients. All those Windows updates handles on the HMI server. So in that case, we would think about using Thin Manager, which is a layer that manages the thin clients, gets the right content to the thin clients. So we could use a thin client architecture for mobile applications. We could also use FactoryTalk Viewpoint. FactoryTalk Viewpoint is an HTML5 web server that is provided with FactoryTalk View SE, and HTML5, so the same displays are rendered on your phone as they are on the operator screen, and that's another option, is to use a web server. Typically, the web server would be deployed for view-only screens, but it is possible to get some control out of the web browser. There's a document for mobility that Rodwell Automation has published, Designing for Mobility. This publication can be Googled, or it could be pulled off of the Rodwell Automation documentation website. As I mentioned, this, FactoryTalk View SE typically is deployed in a client-server architecture. And so when we consider the clients on the factory floor, today we would look at those clients probably being thin clients so that we don't have operating systems sitting on the factory floor. And Thin Manager is a product that is used to manage the thin clients. What Thin Manager does is it provides the correct content to the correct client, and it also provides security and role and user-based security so that on a particular operator workstation, depending upon how you're logged in, would depend upon the content that is delivered to that thin client and the security that is delivered to that thin client. Thin Manager also offers the ability to pick up locations, so you could have a mobile device, an iPad or a Windows tablet in front of a control panel, and Thin Manager can sense your location and develop user manuals and schematics to your thin client based upon where you are in the facility. So if you'd like to learn more about Thin Manager, please let us know. We'd be happy to talk about it. So now I'm going to let David Nute speak about commercial incentives to migrate from RSView32 to FactoryTalk View SE. In addition, David is going to talk about the conversion process of going from WonderWare and iFIX to FactoryTalk View SE. So David, if you could take it, I'd appreciate it.
All right, thanks Mark. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
All right, excellent. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in today. And so as part of a migration project with Rodwell products, it's important to understand that there are commercial incentives available for you when you approach your conversion project. So, and Rodwell's program of commercial incentives is called Stepforward. And most of you have probably heard of it, but if you haven't, it's an important program to be aware of. So a little bit about Stepforward. Stepforward includes essentially provides credit incentives to migrate from older Rodwell products to the newer technology. And so that includes both hardware and software. So when you're migrating your older systems, just please make use of this program, and especially with regard to RSView32 projects, there's very significant what we call trade-in incentives to move to FactoryTalk View SE. So just make sure that's utilizing the Stepforward program as a part of your migration process. And in addition to migrating Rodwell technology, there are also many times competitive product incentives as well that are part of the Stepforward program. So please utilize those when you migrate older systems to a newer Rockwell technology. Okay, Mark, go ahead and move to the next slide. Okay, so let's move on to the competitor HMI application conversion service. So first of all, let's understand, Mark did a good job explaining a lot of the whys and why some of the benefits of moving to FactoryTalk View SE to utilize the Premier integration. We went into a lot of those details. But you should consider this tool that we're talking about today as really a journey towards Premier integration. And so it's important to understand that this conversion process that we're offering for WonderWare InTouch and also Involution GE iFIX is really a step in a whole longer journey towards utilizing the Premier integration that's available with the Logic platform and FactoryTalk platforms. So when you're looking at doing PLC5 migrations and SLIC migrations, make sure you include the HMI as part of that migration process. It'll definitely pay benefits later on. So specifically about this conversion service, first of all, what we're providing is available at no charge. So it's very, there's really no reason not to try it if you've got an older InTouch system or an iFIX system. And what we do is we convert these applications first to RSView32, and then from there, then we create an imported FactoryTalk View SE application that then we can use with the new technology. And again, it's important to understand this is a specific service that Rockwell offers, and you really need to work with your local Reynolds Company automation specialist to make this happen. There is there's some documentation and some background information that we need to provide to track these projects, and so it's vital that you engage your Rockwell specialist to help to facilitate this this service. And again, this is not a turnkey project conversion service. This is a step. So this is a step towards your Premier integration project. And as part of that, as part of this process, we will work with what we call an application owner. And that could be the end user, if the end user is playing an active role in converting their technology. Though that could also be a systems integrator, or that could be some other service provider. But it's not something that Reynolds does on our own. We have to go in with a partner or with an end customer to make this happen. Okay, Mark, go ahead and move to the next slide. Okay, so this service has been around for a number of years. I guess at least 5 years. So there's a lot of we have a lot of experience in doing these, but there is a couple of new things that we wanted to talk about. So as of April this year, there's an official services agreement that needs to be agreed upon between Rockwell and the company, and essentially this agreement just protects the end user, confirms the intellectual property rights, and it's put in place just to make sure everybody's taken care of. But it is an important process that needs to be handled. And then also there's some updates to iFIX. Those of you that know iFIX realize that iFIX is constructed in a different way than I would call a traditional HMI for a lot of reasons. And so there's a couple of extra files that we recommend that you provide in addition to the base program files. We highly encourage you to, if possible, to provide an external CSV tag database export of the iFIX database, as well as all the driver configuration files that are possible that you have. And that just makes things go smoother along with the conversion. So go ahead, next slide, please. Okay, and I guess we lost the title on this one, but this is talks a little bit about the conversion process. So like we said, the projects for conversion are submitted by a Rockwell or a Reynolds specialist, or it could be in a Rockwell account manager, although if the Rockwell account manager gets one of these, I would imagine they will engage the Reynolds specialist. And these projects are first converted to RSView32, and the reason that's the case is these older InTouch and iFIX applications are constructed in much the same way as an RSView32 project was constructed, based on the older, I would call them 1990s HMI technology. So it's much easier to move to RSView32 first before we move along to the FactoryTalk View SE. And in addition to the actual project that gets converted, there's also a number of log files that are also delivered as part of this, and some exception reports that we'll reference in the next couple of slides. So once we have a working RSView application, then that RSView application gets imported into FactoryTalk View SE, and then that is returned as an APA backup file to the end user, to the owner. And so this does a couple of things. It eliminates the need to use the legacy DB utility, and it also enables you to quickly restore the application to FactoryTalk View using the application manager tool. And then it can be used on a modern 64-bit operating system with FactoryTalk View SE. Okay, Mark, go ahead, next slide. Okay, and so the next slide, so what will be converted? So we'll take this separately between iFIX and InTouch. So with iFIX, again, like I said, iFIX is a little bit more complicated. So, but as a base, the graphic displays with the basic objects are converted. And a lot of times that's really what we're looking for here. So we don't have to recreate a lot of those graphics. So number one, those are converted. The animation is converted on the graphics, as well as the parameter files, which were associated with tag groups before. And a little bit about data sources. So data sources are converted where possible, but again, because iFIX was designed in a different way, iFIX uses a lot of different types of data sources that RSView32 just didn't use. So all of the RSView32 type data sources are converted. The data sources that are not converted, like some of the maybe from VBA code or ActiveX objects or things that were unique to iFIX, will be listed in an exception report, and then you can deal with those as needed. Now the base tag database is converted, and in the diagram there, all the iFIX block types that you see, especially all the analogs there, are converted to RSView32 tags. And then you can work with them in the tag database. Go ahead, Mark, next slide. So InTouch is a little bit simpler in my opinion, in my view. So again, the graphics and the tag database files are converted, which are the kind of the core of what we're looking for. Now the scripts are not. Anyone that's used InTouch before knows that those scripts were really, pretty simplistic, 90s type technology. There really isn't a use for those in newer technology. A lot of those scripts can be handled in expressions and through really typical animation links today. So those scripts aren't really used anymore. The ActiveX controls were specific, so those aren't really converted. And it's important to understand that Orchestra projects aren't converted. This is specifically an InTouch tool. Now, even with an Orchestra environment, much of the graphics were already done. Were done in InTouch anyway, so we're going to get those graphics over. But the Orchestra project itself is not part of the scope of this service. Just so you understand that. And you know, as a kind of a disclaimer, like I said, this is a journey. So we convert what we can. So depending on the project, our utilities and our knowledge may not be able to convert everything that you want to get converted. So this is a first step and hopefully a big step, but it's not going to be everything for you. Okay, next slide, Mark. Okay, and this slide just gives you more specific knowledge of what the deliverables are. So we deliver a RSView32 project with application scripts. Anything that didn't work, that didn't get converted from the database, comes in the database exception report. Anything that didn't convert from the graphics gets listed in a conversion graphics report. And then there's also a tag mapping conversion report that shows you how the tags from InTouch or iFIX can be found in the new database. So that can be helpful. And then all the general other exceptions kind of get lumped into the exceptions report there. And in addition to the RSView32 project, we also provide with a View SE local station project backup. And then that can be converted to current versions of FactoryTalk View, and you can also convert that to a View SE distributed system as well. Okay, Mark. Okay, so where do I start? Well, first of all, you need to contact your Reynolds contact, and that could be a Reynolds application, or a Reynolds specialist. That could be a Reynolds account manager. That could also be Rockwell, but we all work together, so we'll work together on that. We also have a lot of documentation that we've mentioned. There's a really good RSView32 migration manual that in the white paper that you should look at. There's also some YouTube. Rockwell has a very good YouTube channel that has some FactoryTalk how-tos, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of information, but please involve us in this service. We will do our best to make it as positive as possible for you. Next slide. And I think that might be the last slide. Yeah. So.
Yep. Thank you, David.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks to everyone for joining today, and please register for another Tech Talk, and we'll see you in the future. Please contact us with any questions you may have as well. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.